My name is JT, and this is a story about how I built my homestead. Hey guys, so welcome back to JT Time. JT here. Today's episode is more or less some additional QAQC on the electrical work. I want to show you guys what I look out for when I am reviewing my contractors that I have work. And I also kind of want to show you an update on the status of the house and kind of where we're at in the scope and everything like that. So you can tell right now that the electricians are starting to install the recess cans. So the electrical boxes are right there. I can tell you right now that I did not agree to those yet, which means they're doing stuff that is kind of, they're using their best judgment call. They're not really, they're following the plan, so the placement's correct, but the style of lights that they've chosen aren't quite the style that I was looking for, but I'll have to do a little bit more research and just make sure I'm happy with the style that they're using. The traditional recess cans that are up there, usually they need a lot of space for the housing. The slope of our roof is 8/12, which essentially means it rises up 8 inches for every 12 inches of run that you have. So in this particular case, if you wanted an actual large recess can housing, you'd need a lot of vertical height to actually do that. So the style that they're using is something that you can do as a retrofit, and you can install it right into a regular electric box, which is kind of what you see right there. See, that's just a regular normal electrical box, and it just clips on. So it's used for like remodels or retrofits, and it's easier than installing the full housing. And in addition to that, sometimes when you install the housing, it can get hot. So it's a potential fire hazard, but I wasn't too worried about that. I just want to make sure that the looks the way I want it to for the house. So that's what I'm more picky about for this exterior side, especially from a barrier standpoint of view. It's going to be sealed on the inside anyways, so I'm not too worried about a air barrier kind of scenario. So let's just move forward. I already told you guys about the brick. We got that installed. Before, in the past, they didn't install this yet for the brick. So this is pretty cool in general. They kind of topped it off, and we still have to go back and whitewash all of this. And we're not going to paint over all the brick. We're just going to accent it with different whitewashes. And what that really does for the brick is this kind of 3D pattern, or this kind of staggered pattern that we have here. I think you guys can kind of see it. It's kind of sticking out in random places. This kind of pattern really pops whenever we whitewash it, so we're really excited about doing that. I bought some whitewash paint already, so that'll be another project for another video, but I just wanted to give you guys an update. So we still have this box right here. So I don't know how we're gonna finish this off. I'm still trying to figure it out right now. We might do some hardy board to take it all the way on the inside, but the water barrier is really solid here. I'm not too worried about it. We just need access to this box, really, and we couldn't brick all the way because you have this air gap that's in between your brick and the outside wall, or outside water barrier wall. So because we have that gap, all of a sudden there's this kind of distance that we have to correct and figure out. So that it gets kind of tricky there. We'll figure something out where it looks kind of nice and also meets the job of making sure that we're still a few inches off the wall for the air gap. So just continuing on, I haven't been at the house, I'll be honest. I've been working my day job, and my day job took me out of town for a little bit, so I haven't been here for like 2 weeks, guys. So as a result, the house has been neglected. Good news is that our contractors are using us, or our contractors are still working, not using us, still working, sorry. So that's the good news. So the house is still continuing to move forward. It's just my portion of the work has been dropping and slacking. So hopefully I can get to the house pretty soon to continue working on it, because as you can see, I still have all of this siding to caulk, of course. You know, we're gonna get through it sooner or later, you know, just hour by hour, minute by minute, tube by tube. So hopefully I'll get to this and we can get to painting after that. So let me go ahead and meet you guys inside, and I'll see you real soon. All right, so welcome back. We are inside the house now, and let me just kind of guide you through what I'm looking for when I actually QAQC. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this around and kind of show you guys and talk to the sticking points that I kind of look for when I'm looking at what they're doing, and are they doing what I'm asking them to do, and things like that. And a little bit of that is walking through the plans and just making sure that they're following the plans at the end of the day. So let me go ahead and spin this around. Okay, so the first thing I look for is, number one, do all of the beams that electrical wire is running through, or all the studs that the electrical wire is running through, are they shielded with this little shield? So they're still working on their scope right here, and a little bit of that has to do with how close the wire is to the edge. So sometimes it's too close and they'll have to protect the wire with one of those metal plates that keep it from pretty much, when we nail on the sheetrock, nailing into that wire and causing like an electrical conductivity between that nail and the wire. But really I'm just looking for electrical box placement. So they did all the boxes correct here. There's another box right there. The panel, they went ahead and installed the panel inside the house. The original plans actually had the panel outside the house. So this is a little different than what I specified, but I kind of like actually them doing this, because now originally I was going to do PVC pipe and run all my home runs, which home runs are to the panel pretty much, through the PVC pipe, and then use some kind of electrical putty that pretty much encapsulates the wires, and that way I could always re-tap into that if I ever wanted to run wires, run new data lines, anything that I want to run, I can run through that hole. Whereas now this is all inside the envelope, and all we have to do to run to the electrical meter is run one solid line out through the garage to the outside. So I only have one line, which is really nice. You know, updating this is going to be a lot easier than had I went the other direction with it. So I think it was a good step on their part to do that. We just have to figure out how to cover this up so that there's not a big metal panel, because this thing is huge, guys. Like, this thing is 3 feet tall probably by 1 feet long, maybe 3.5. It looks like it might be 3.5 feet. So it's pretty big, pretty good service for the house. A lot of potential for growth. Light switches, data switches, and power next to that. We got our plumbing already, that's already been done and roughed in, and then our electrical wiring. So one thing that I always look for is when they're drilling these lines, they drill, and sometimes they're working through it so fast, they don't realize that they might hit one of these lines. So I look and feel all these pipes and make sure that they didn't hit the pipes and cause any damage on the pipes. So in this situation, I don't believe they had any damage to the pipes from what I can see, so I'm not too worried about that. Of course, my inspection is more or less for the sake of the house. The city does come out here and check everything before they'll give a pass on this particular house. So they do a second set of eyes, and my master electrician will also do checks as well to do that. So I also look at all the recess cans to see if all the recess cans are installed, which they look like they are. I haven't done a full deep dive into this project yet in terms of QAQC, but right now they're getting close. They're not quite all the way done yet, so I can't scrutinize them on the work yet, because it's a little unfair to do that to your contractor when they're still working through it themselves, you know. A lot of this QAQC that I'm doing is more or less just kind of looking at, okay, has there been any damage to the stuff that's been in here already? Is there anything that they are forgetting that you think they might have forgotten? And I'll show you an example of something that they may have forgotten, right? Here's a cool thing that I did. Right here, there's a power outlet in the attic. Why would I have that there, right? There's a security camera right here, and this powers that security camera. So the nice part about these security cameras is that if you do a P over E, which is power over Ethernet, that's what I would recommend. Do a P over E, because that's an Ethernet cable right there. And if I had P over E cameras, this cable would have powered my camera and I wouldn't have to plug this in at all. Now, if I don't have a P over E, which this is a situation where I don't, and the reason why I don't is because it's cheaper. If you do a P over E camera, it usually is more expensive, and a non-P over E is more standard, and the issue is you run into this issue of how do I power this? So in this situation, I could have just extended this line. You can buy this type of line. I found the specs for it and bought an extension for this line, but this is a DC line, or direct current line. I think that's what DC stands for. And when you use a DC line, there's actually a voltage drop. I'm probably getting in way too much of the details, but you know, just in case you're interested in knowing, the line, the longer it is, there's a resistance that's in the line, and the larger length, the more resistance means you get a voltage drop. So these cameras are actually made for 12 volts. I actually contacted the manufacturer and said, hey, I'm gonna be extending these lines up to 50 or 60 feet to meet at where the hub is at. I'm calculating the voltage drop using a little bit of physics. You know, I'm a little bit of a nerd, and figured out that voltage drop is somewhere around close to, I think I ended up calculating it out to be about 1 volt. So instead of being 12 volts at the camera, you're only getting 11 volts. And I let them know what I was doing. I told them the gauge of the wire that I was using, and kind of said, I know these are spec'd out for 12 volts only. Can you confirm whether they'll actually operate on 11 volts? And luckily in this situation, the manufacturer actually got back to me and said, yeah, that'll work. So I had it ready, and then my electrician already had these run. So I was like, forget that. I'm just gonna return those because that cost me a lot of money anyways. These guys already ran it as part of their scope, and this is better anyways because now the cameras are getting 12 volts for their entire life, and I just prefer that. So long story short, those are your 2 options that you can do. Another option you can do, which I thought about after the fact, is you can always run an extension cable all the way to that source. Now, that's a little bit of an extreme. I preferably don't want extension cables running in my attic. That looks like I kind of jerry-rigged it. But you know, I'm not gonna judge you. And most people aren't gonna be looking in the attic anyways, so that's more or less your own, up to your own discretion if you wanna do that or not. Because the nice part about running an extension cable is that the cable that you're running is actually AC, so you don't get that drop in current or voltage. The voltage doesn't happen until you have the transducer, which is the plug, and then converts that to DC current for the camera. Okay, so a little bit too much stuff probably, but you know, you never know if you're gonna actually be interested in knowing that or not. So we're in the restroom now. Something that I'm looking for is the same thing. The pipes, these look pretty good. I'm not too worried about that. I'm looking at up here, there's the vent that I installed in the previous episode. So I'm looking to see, did they install the electrical box yet for the vents? So let's just look over on the side. Bingo. So they did install the box already. That looks good. I like the fact that they installed it on the other side of the vent because I do need to have a duct that goes here and vents. And they do have some regular wires hanging down right here. That's stuff that is in the original plans, and that's a little bit my fault as a homeowner trying to build, because they're following the plans the best that they can, but I'm doing changes to the plans as well. So I need to communicate with them a little bit better and make sure that they're aware of what we're trying to do and kind of the little updates. Another update that I did was there's a light fixture here. This, after the fact, we decided to make a cabinet, my wife and I did, and it's probably gonna be a tall cabinet, but now because the light fixture is there, we might end up changing it to where it's like a little vanity down here and then hanging cabinets up there and maybe power some lights inside the cabinets from up there, but we're still figuring out that design. In addition, the sink being over on this side, we probably need a light here too. So I need to tell them to install a light right there as well. But again, this is still in the rough-in phase, so we can make those type of updates if we want to. Everything else looks pretty good. Everything looks pretty organized. This is a closet here, and the reason why there's an opening to the closet here is because that's actually not an opening. What we're gonna be building out here is my wife and I, we cook a lot in our kitchen, and you're actually in our kitchen right here. So this is a little bit of a tour, but we cook a lot and we use a lot of spices. So there's gonna be shelves right here, and the spice rack that we're going to build out there is only going to be as thick as the wall itself, so only like 3.5 inches, and then we'll have a sliding door that goes there as well. So that's nice to have that as a feature for the kitchen, and we're looking forward to using that as a kitchen. So here's an example of something that they missed in the plans that I'll probably end up telling them. And it's this. There's another camera that looks in the backyard here, and they don't have an outlet there yet. And I think it's because they just don't realize that there's a camera right here. But they did get all the other 3 cameras that we have around in the house so far. So this is looking really good though. It's looking very, very clean. And the very last thing that I want to show you is an example of what I was actually referring to earlier. So this is an example of, let me go to the other side of this restroom. And it's easier to see from the other side. So this is an example where they were actually drilling, and they were drilling next to the pipe. So this pipe is fine. This pipe right here is fine as well, if you continue on. Right here, right? They were drilling through this, and they ended up scuffing some of this pipe. Now the pipe isn't actually scuffed all the way through to the point where the water is leaking out, but in the future, if over years and years and years, this thin portion of the pipe could result in a leak here. You know, this could slowly expand and end up leaking out. So now's the time to go ahead and just replace from here to here. Or they could just cut this right here, and then just splice in another piece right here. But this is a great time to do it, right? And then if you look over on this as well, you can tell there's a little bit of lines here. And this is nitpicky, but at the same time, I'm of that mindset of we're already here, the walls aren't covered up. The last thing I want to do is put all the sheetrock here, put cabinetry here, put everything in, and then 5-10 years down the line, this ends up springing a leak, and we have running water, we have mold, we have issues and concerns because we just didn't go ahead and spend the $5 that it would have cost to just replace that little section of pipe. So that's my mindset. That's my little spew. That's my soapbox. And that is it for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you enjoyed the little tour that I gave you. I haven't really given you the full tour yet of the house, but you know, that's for later. You're gonna really get the opportunity to tour the inside of the house whenever we get to the point where we're in the house a little bit more. We're doing sheetrock, we're doing insulation. I'm thinking about doing all that scope, so we'll see how it goes. But this is pretty much the end of the episode. Thanks again for watching, and see you guys real soon here on JT Time.